Hi, I'm Mark Murphy, and this is TravelTube.com. Have you ever thought about going to Africa? Well, a lot of the travel experts I've talked to recently, the travel advisors out there, travel agents, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones who plan these trips, and they work with operators, packagers, destination marketing companies that are on the ground in the places they send you, and they build relationships with them. And it's kind of interesting to me because, as far as that goes, uh, sometimes you'll hear them talk about different suppliers, different folks that they're working with, and you know I'm always shocked at who they happen to mention, because there are a lot of players out there that are big in the safari space. But a name that keeps coming up is the name Entaba, Ntaba. And several of my interviews have mentioned this company, and it's run by a husband and wife team. And I remember back, I think it was in 2005 when they got their start. I might be off by a year. And I met this team, and Robin is the husband, and Stella's the wife. Now, Robin doesn't get a lot of chances to talk when he's with Stella. So he told me that. And he said that if he could come on by himself, it'd probably be the first time in 20 years he's been able to talk. So I'm going to bring him onto the stage. And oh, there he is. And can he talk?
Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Yeah.
You as well.
Wonderful.
You
Yeah.
as well. So interesting enough, I made that whole thing up. Stella never said that, but I find it really impressive, to be frank. I stepped away from the business after selling my company, and that was about 5.5 years ago. And I was shocked at how often your name has come up as the go-to safari operator that these high-end travel agents are using. So tell me how you've done that. And actually, let's back up a little bit. What the heck did you do before you started in Taba?
Before I started in Taba, I actually came over to America. I specialize in artificial insemination of honey queen bees. And that's what brought me to America in
That's
1999.
crazy.
It
Okay.
is crazy. It's crazy. Honeybees are not native to America. They were brought over by the settlers. And I had a really good time getting involved in the American beekeeping industry. I landed up teaching as an adjunct professor at Kentucky State University, which I saw a lot of America. I saw a lot of America and met a lot of people who said, "Hey, Robin, next time you go back to Africa, why don't you take us?" And I did. I collected business cards, and the first group of people I took, I did what's known as a COD, a call on dad. And I said, "Dad, I need a bus, I need a tour, one of those people with a badge here, and I need somebody to help me." And we did. We had a wonderful time. We took over just close on 40 people, and it worked very well, and came back, and a bunch of people said, "Robin, you really need to start a safari company." I said, no, I've got a salary. I'm happy. And anyway, 20 years later, as you, Mark, I appreciate you saying it. We are recognized as as the most prestige, one of the most bespoke. If you want a budget safari, please don't come to us, okay? But if you're looking for something luxury, something bespoke, travel agents, if you're looking for a commission that is comparable to any one of the bigger names out there, we certainly match it. And what we've just done 20 years later, yeah, we went through COVID, we went through all that lovely stuff, and we made it. Mark, congratulations on surviving what you survived. But 20 years later, we had to stop and say, well, where are we at and what are we doing? And one of the big things I saw, and it's got nothing to do with any political situation in either of our countries right now. By the way, everybody, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and right now. But I saw that there was a great need for a destination marketing company in South Africa. There's some very good companies there, yes, make no mistake, but nobody with a track record of a safari company or a tour operator from the USA who's made it for 20 years and not just made it, but who's done well. So we started a DMC in South Africa, which we all believe in the expression boots on the ground. I go one step further, I put troops on the ground. So Stella and has built up an amazing team in a very short space of time with an office in South Africa. We're just up the coast from Cape Town. And and in fact, what it's done for us now is it's opened big opportunities for us in Australia and in New Zealand. I'm working together with a company called Perfections, and their agents in Australia and Germany are South African, and it's such beautiful teamwork.
So that's really interesting. How long ago did you start that?
Started at the beginning of the. Hey, you're going to make me stutter, man. Started it at the beginning of this year, and it's a fledgling, but it's. I mean, already we're getting business coming in from Australia and from the DAC countries. In fact, from Switzerland right now, through Sally Hancock. But it's just, we registered with the South African Tourism Board. We registered with ASTA. We have South African insurance on our guides, which very few people consider when they're working with the DMC. Are your guides insured? And it's not a free for all. Just go and grab a guide off the street and hi,
Right.
I want to do a safari. No, Des Blackhurst actually knew my wife before I did, and we've been married for 20 years. And that's the quality of guide that we have. We actually have now. I mean, we have groups who've traveled with us 3, 4, 5 times over 20 years. And one of the first things that they demand is Des Blackhurst going to be our guide.
That's great. So, what is it that you did in the beginning? I know you guys worked it. I saw you at all the trade shows. I saw you meeting with these agents. And what was that ramp up like? Because you started kind of as we were going into this bond crisis that happened around 2007, 8, and then led into the financial crisis. So you got through that. Now, did you find that because you were small and you were a startup that you had more flexibility than the larger players?
To a degree, yes. To a degree, yes. And I think, Mark, well, not I think, I know, but it was certainly networks. The consortiums that we are now the only preferred African supplier with. And as you said, going to those meetings and knocking on your door, Mark, saying, "Hi, how are you? I'm Robin Mountain. This is my company." And also having the backup in Africa with what we had, to have a very strong Google ranking. I think the only bad ranking I had was somebody who tried to rank my coffee shop one day. It was a barista who was upset with me, and he put on there what a lousy coffee shop I had, which was a load of trash. But he put it onto the Safari page. But it's been a privilege to have had led groups like the University of Louisville's alumni. I've taken them to Africa 5 times. People say, "How can you work with students?" No, no, this is alumni. These are doctors, lawyers, and so on. And then last year, the year before last, I took the former governor of Kentucky, Steve Beshear. I took him and his wife Jane and a small group over. And it's that network, and it's as my dad taught me or tried to teach me as a young boy, if a job is worth doing, it's worth doing well. And I think
Yep.
if you would sum and Taba up, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that because people don't realize how complicated planning these trips are because you're going a long way. And it's interesting that Australia and New Zealand are part of, your new portfolio because there are companies that started selling Australia exclusively and they shifted over and started selling Africa, especially South Africa. Why are the clients, because it's really about the demographics of your clientele,
Yeah.
what is it about these long haul destinations that you can marry two different sides of the world kind of and they want to go to both of those places as well as New Zealand. But when I
Absolutely.
say both, I'm really thinking Australia, major massive destination, and Africa, the continent is massive. People don't understand just how big it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, a little bit of a correction. We're not taking people to New Zealand or Africa or New
Oh,
Zealand. No, we have agents. We
you're
have an agent who
bringing
works for us.
business. Okay, just want to make
So,
sure. I
yeah,
misunderstood that.
and so the Australians, we're going to stop speaking about rugby and cricket because we have two opposing teams. No, it does. It's just there are so many Australians who love doing something adventurous, and there's so many people from Holland, from Germany. I mean, these are our roots. This is where we all come from anyway. So, as I said, that for us, and it was being in South Africa and having troops on the ground, having a registered company that opened the doors to bring Australians and Europeans in through Ntaba.
Awesome, awesome.
So,
So with a travel agent, describe for me the perfect client for a travel agent to bring to you to plan a great experience? Who is that client? What's what are the demographic numbers on them? Age, income, et cetera. Are they retired people because they typically need extra time if they want to really take a deep dive into the destination?
Mark, what we've done and what I've done with my marketing team is to see, as you mentioned the word demographics. One demographic that we are very strong in is the LGBTQ market. I have a member of my family who is trans, and it's an amazing market to be in, and an amazing Cape Town. You've been there is the metropolitan rainbow of Africa. And then we're also doing a lot of multi-generational. And this is, when grandpa and granny have worked hard, their 401k has been very kind to them. And they say, hey guys, instead of you fighting over this, let's spend it before we go.
Yep.
We do have, a large number of singles groups, single ladies groups. I've led at least 4 or 5 of those in the last 2 years, and it's just ladies wanting to be with other ladies in a group. I have a number of very 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 good female guides or lady guides in South Africa, and then just people who want to experience something different in life, people who enjoy a good meal, people who enjoy the safety of traveling with a company that has been going for as long as we have, and that has got the rapport that we have.
And when you travel with these folks, what's their feedback on your product? I know you have amazing reviews, and then how does that help build that relationship with those travel agents?
Mark, I think one of the big things, and you and I love talking. We do. I mean, I think when they close that box that they put us in at the end, we're going to say, "Hey, I want the last word." No,
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I've learned is we've got 2 of these. And when I do a Zoom meeting for clients, I say, "Tell me what you want. What would you like to do? Where would you like to go?" And I think that is the most important thing. And way too often, you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy anything in life. It's like, this is what you need. No, we find out what the client's expectations are. I battle a little bit with wanting to do the pyramids, the gorillas, Victoria Falls, and Cape Town in 5 days. That's a bit of a tough one. But on the serious people, for the migration crossing, we work with that. I very often don't advise Southern and East Africa in one itinerary, mainly because of time and mainly because of the toughness of traveling. Both East Africa, you do a lot more driving, open vehicles and or closed vehicles, whereas in Southern Africa, you tend to do your early morning and your evening game drives.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you got to get up at the crack of dawn, right? Because you got to get out there, before that sun comes up and you're already rolling. And then just for people who've never taken a safari, how long are you out doing the game drives first thing in the morning? Like, give me a typical day in a safari experience.
Okay, a typical day in the safari experience, you'll get a wake up call if they have a phone in the room, or if they don't, it's a knock on the door or a shout outside your door. You get up, you come through, and you have a continental breakfast, and that's the sunrise you'll see. That's the picture I took the other day. You will have a continental breakfast, and then depending on the time of the year, October, November, December is a very warm time of the year. Then you go March, April, May, which is one of my favorite. It's a cooler time of the year,
Mm.
and you will dress accordingly. And then going out in the early morning, you are looking for your nocturnal, your nighttime animals that are bedding down. And this is when you start to see some of your nocturnal animals that have come out. So, perhaps you've had lions that have pulled on an animal in the early hours of the morning, and you see that. You can see your cats walking around a little bit more because now they're hungry. They've spent the night with an empty tummy. Now they're looking around. And then,
Yeah.
of course, you hear your bird calls starting to come up. And so after the game drive, you then come back. And in fact, what's really lovely is towards the end of the game drive, we stop and we have tea or coffee where we stretch our legs and do a little bit of a walk around, all very safely within the perimeter of the vehicle, or just larger than the perimeter of the vehicle. And then from there we come back. We have breakfast, lunches always. In fact, all your meals are included on all on all our itineraries. And so you come back, you'll have lunch, time to have a bit of a siesta, we'll go and have a spa treatment. And then we go out on the evening game drive, where the tracker will actually have a spotlight with him. And we look for the nocturnal animals. This last time I was very lucky to pick up honey badgers and porcupines at night. And, you might bump into the odd elephant or rhino, but the thing is we don't shine the spotlight onto what we call our nocturnal animals. It's just because of the rods and cones in the eyes that you don't hurt them.
Gotcha. So, what do you say to the people that might be terrified? Like, oh my God, I'm standing out here out in the open. Yeah, I'm near a Jeep, but like this is terrifying for them because these are wild animals. You see some tourists like try to go up. There's a hippo standing near a river, and they try to go up and get a picture with them. Or we see this in Yellowstone with the bison, and
Mhm.
you just go, "Oh my God!" And people are yelling, "Get away! What are you doing?"
Exactly, exactly.
So, what gives them that level of confidence that they're going to be safe on that trip? Because some people will be afraid; they'll be terrified of the unknown.
Well, I think what does help a lot, Mike, is from the get go, you and the wife want to go on a safari. You've never been on one yet. We'll discuss where you want to go, how long you want to go. We'll also ascertain what your budget is as well. And your budget really only determines the level of accommodation you stay in. It's not
Yeah.
the quantity of animals you'll see. And then, when and so before you go, if it's just the two of you, okay, so it's not a group, just the two of you. Before you go, we'll do a Zoom meeting that you'll get comfortable with us, with our staff. Your itinerary will show you exactly where we're going, what we're doing. We'll explain the vehicle that you'll be driving in. Another um, quote that I am quite famous for saying is, "You only need one shot," and please, everybody, make sure you write this down. Okay, you get all the travel agents with their pen and piece of paper. They start writing. You need a shot of bourbon when you get there with me. Um, and that's exactly it. Absolutely no shots are needed for Southern Africa.
Yeah.
And when you use a company with a reputation that we have, we are not going to put you into a lodge where you could get malaria. And right now, come and visit me in Kentucky. I'll take you fishing in Western Kentucky. You stand a far better chance of getting West Nile virus than malaria. So yes, of course, I take it seriously. I take it very seriously. But when you're going in there March, April, May, even people going now in wintertime, there ain't no mosquitoes. I led a group in Cape Town, Kruger Park or Greater Kruger, and we were in Mozambique. And in those 10 days, I didn't see a single mosquito. So, that's very important to us, is to let people be comfortable about where they're going, what they're doing. And then, Mark, something that nobody else does in the industry, but we are pretty proud of it. When we set up a WhatsApp group, that's why I've had to keep my phone quiet. It's been going ding, ding, ding. But we set up a WhatsApp group with your wife and yourself, and maybe the travel agent who booked you with us, and then with my office, and then you will get a photograph of the guide who's going to meet you. So before you even leave the USA, you see this face or Des or Wayne or somebody. So you immediately build a rapport.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I've seen people, when I've been there with two or three of my guides in meeting groups, and I'm just overseeing it. And you see people come through. Most people look down at the board to see their name when they're walking through. My guys look through and they look for the face and say, "Hi," and
Yeah.
it's an immediate. And so a small group like you'd have a meet and greet, taken to your hotel next morning, and anybody can walk to that hotel. It's right in the airport complex. One of the main ones we use is the City Lodge. And then from there, let's say you're going up to the Victoria Falls, we'll take you to the airport the next morning. You'll get onto your flight. You'll be met by my sister company. But we will always know where you are at whatever time of the day. Yeah,
And so in order to sell your product, if I'm a travel agent, I've got a customer who's thinking about taking a safari. A lot of times people don't want to say, "Oh, my budget is, I'm willing to spend $30,000," right? Because they want the biggest bang for the buck, and they don't want to negotiate with themselves. So, what would you suggest for the travel agent to approach a client because it helps tremendously. If somebody's got a $5,000 budget and two people want to go on an African safari, probably not going to happen. I mean, how much is the airfare alone from the eastern US?
correct. Yeah, I'd say $5,000 per person, excluding flights. Yes, it can be done.
All right. Oh, per person, no, but I
Yeah,
said together,
I know,
5,000.
I know you did, but that's why
Yeah.
that's why I said yeah.
So yeah, so $10,000 on the ground. What does that get me?
That'll get you, let's say, 3 days in Victoria Falls, 4 days in Cape Town, and 4 days on a safari. And 10,000 per person will get you the same length of time, but in that lodge and not, and then we have people who give us their credit card and say, "Give me a safari," and you never abuse that. You find out a little bit more. So where did your friends stay? Oh, they stayed in this lodge and they went to this and they experienced and they had the helicopter trip from here to there. But generally, as I say, for a travel agent, and I think you know this very well, Mark. It's how well do you know your supplier, your partner, whatever it is. I mean, I can put Stella against any safari company owner out there, and vice versa. She could do the same to me. How well do you know what relationship do you have? I
Yeah.
mean,
So it's interesting. So you decided you were based out of Louisville. That's when we met. You were here in the US. And then you decided to go and set up this DMC. And how much of a differentiator is that for you when you're talking to agents? Like how do you use that on the ground? You're physically boots on the ground there. You're located now in South Africa. You're sitting here in your home in Louisville, but because you kept that because you need a US presence, but at the same time, you've got this DMC in South Africa. And a lot of other folks use either a third party, like you probably did in the past.
mhm.
So how important is that for the agents to really use that as a tool to position your brand, which may not be familiar to the end customer?
Exactly. A lot of agents have jumped at it. It's like, oh my god, because I was privy to be in a meeting with Stella this morning with her team in South Africa. Those four ladies are moving mountains. Excuse the pun, okay? But Stella had itineraries that she'd given them last night while she was working. They were working on them while we were still sleeping. And when Stella got up, she had those itineraries to send out. So it does that. Being on both sides of the globe helps us tremendously. And of course, our team in the USA is pumping out itineraries at a very steady rate as well. And for me, what I love about being on the ground in South Africa, it's what I've done within just the 6 months of being there, is driving across to Cape Town. It's a 3-hour drive, and going and meeting two or three of the agents who've come over with groups, taking them out for dinner, or just meeting them in one of the wine estates where they are. And that kind of relationship is what has helped us to have people like Michelle DeQuain, Linda Allen, people like that, Jamie Turner, who book groups with us over and over. It's that one-on-one relationship and what they recognize they get when they use somebody with the reputation that we have.
Now, when you're saying you're driving across, people are going to say, because of the media, and we know this when Ebola was an issue. And to be frank, for the media folks, it was never really an issue. It never had anything to do with the safari business or anything else. But the media literally destroyed travel to Africa around 2014. And they do it all the time. And
Mhm.
it's one of the things I find so frustrating. I'll just give you an example. I got a call from one of the networks, and they wanted me to talk about 4th of July travel. And I think it was Thursday. What was 4th of July? Oh, yeah, Friday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lot of lead time. It's like a filler segment. You don't get the long form. It's frustrating, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
when bad news happens, they chase it, and then they're on to the next bad news story. So that devastated Africa. People were terrified to go there, but they didn't realize things were happening 3,000 miles, 2,000 miles away, literally like the width of the continent of the United States.
It was closer to Europe than it was to South Africa.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really unbelievable. But so you had that. Now we have the talk about, you know, the genocide, white genocide happening in South Africa. And so from that standpoint, and to be fair, there are statements made by politicians in South Africa that could be construed as threats. And there have been situations, but we need to separate the politics from the media frenzy, from, there are things that are happening, but I just looked up and I think it just said that there's something like 80 people or 75 people shot in Chicago over the weekend, right?
I, I can give you Louisville figures. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Mark, my name was in the ballot in 1994. I ran against the ANC. I ran against Matthew Pawsa in Mpumalanga. I've been a farmer most of my life. My brother-in-laws are farmers in KwaZulu Natal, and this all boils down to what is your relationship like in your community. Period. No more, no less.
Okay.
And you talk about Chicago, what happened there. We live in Louisville, and I mean, I'm scared.
Yeah, yeah. There are places you don't want to go. I was going to go do a. We did a drive through Louisville because you didn't happen to be there. You ditched
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But
Come and visit us, Mark, but don't go down that road, okay?
yeah,
No,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah. My mother lives on her own in South Africa. My mother lives on her own,
yeah.
and I wouldn't have moved back to South Africa if it wasn't safe. Over 20 years, and I'm not boasting, and I'm touching wood and whatever, whatever. We have not had one incident. I think the worst incident I had was a lady who fell down some stairs in Mozambique this last time now, and I had to get her to a hospital in Maputo. Guess what? It could have been my front doorstep or my coffee shop. But
Right.
no, no, Mark, it's just a lot of it is just blown out of proportion. And I mean, South Africa's president could have very well turned around to the president here and said, because I mean, he was ambushed. He was broadsided, man. He could have
Yep.
said, well, could you tell us about the school shootings? We don't have that in our country. Could you
Right.
tell us about the mass shootings? We don't have that. And I'm not boasting, please. And I thank God every day that we don't. Okay. I've adopted a little boy in Rwanda. When I was up in Rwanda, opening it up for Ntaba about 10 years ago, I was standing there, and a little boy was standing, 14 years old, standing against the fence of this orphanage. And I asked the guys, I said, why is he, David, why is he not part of the program? And David, the worst words that I've ever heard as a parent, said, nobody wants him.
Uh,
And I don't speak that language. And I went up and I hugged him, and poor little guy didn't quite know how to give me a hug. And I found out that he was pimping his mother. He was selling his mother for sex to feed his siblings. And I mean, that just ripped my heart apart. And I said to David, I want to adopt him. And David said, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, David, I have an adopted sister and I know what I'm talking about. And so I didn't bring him back to South Africa or back to the USA. I left him there with an organization called Acts for Rwanda. And he had after schools care. We put him through private schools and public schools. And unfortunately, during COVID, he went down the drain a little bit. And just I mean, there was no food, there was no work, there was nothing.
yeah.
So I saw him right after COVID, and I mean, he'd gone down, and I threatened to give him the beating of his life he'd never had, because poor guy doesn't have a dad, and he was so shocked by what I did and said that within 14 months he graduated from high school, and he missed university by 1 degree, the government university. And I said, it doesn't matter. I said, we're going to get some people together and we're going to help you through college. And he's doing his first year of business management. And, from 14 years ago to what he was doing. And it's just, those are the stories the media doesn't want, because it doesn't, people don't turn on their TV for that.
No, they don't interview people that just got off a cruise and say, "Hey, I heard you had a great cruise. Tell us all about it." No, it's like, "Hey, we got a documentary called The Poop Cruise about that Carnival ship from a decade ago, right?" That's what that
Exactly.
that's the stuff that sells the clicks and the viewership. People are, I mean, it's the old saying is if it bleeds, it leads, and that's been the saying forever in media. And I can tell you that when you post like a travel video, that's a really nice travel video on TikTok or wherever, you get some views, but nothing insane. But if you post something wacky that's travel related, or the pier runners, or the people that lost, they got back to the ship too late and they're falling on the pier, that stuff, and it gets millions of views. Or like the horror stories,
Oh,
not
yeah.
the good stuff, but the horror stories are few and far between. They do happen, in every industry, but the reality is they don't care about anything other than those clicks and those views and that sensationalism. That's why you see that it's breaking news, and everything's freaking breaking news. I'm like, you guys have been covering this for 12 hours now. How is it still the thing spinning up that says breaking news? And this is every single network. There's not one that doesn't do this.
We should try that. Breaking news! Breaking news! Mark and Robin are talking about safaris.
Yes, yes. It's exciting, and nobody got eaten or stumped to death. Boy, wonderful.
Exactly.
Oh
Drop
yeah.
everything you're doing. Listen, listen. No, Mark. I mean, I've had grown men cry when they leave in Johannesburg International Airport. I've had them cry and just say, "Robin, this has changed my life." I mean, we've had people, as I said, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm boasting. I will boast. Okay, we've had them travel 5, 6, 7 times with us. We've had people, just put, mortgage their children, not quite, but put everything they can to go and travel. And I think I can be one of the very few business people who can say I've never had anybody ask for their money back. I have had people say, Rob, we should have paid more, and I said,
Oh,
yes.
my prices are too low. Oh, that's funny. So that's great. No, it's great to hear about all your success. What would you, if you have some tips you could rattle off for travel agents, what would they be to sell more of these high, net worth or high income individuals and get more business in Africa and for these safaris? Because I've done a lot of what you just mentioned. I've done South Africa. I've done Cape Town. I've done Botswana, which you didn't mention, Victoria Falls. You know what I mean? It's an amazing experience.
I think it is, Mark. And one big thing, country is a country. Without the people, it's not a. What is it? It's the land. It's the people. It's the people. The people of Victoria Falls are some of the friendliest people in the world. Stella and I are spending 2 weeks up in Zambia. We still do site inspections. We still go and look at lodges that we've been using for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Are they good? Are they up to standard that we want? I'd say the people are what makes a country. Cape Town, you meet a beautiful group of people called colored people, COLOURED, that are original people the Malay and the Dutch. Look at who we utilize for our guest speakers, and one of them is Christo Brand. He was Nelson Mandela's prison warder. He wrote the book Mandela, My Prisoner, My Friend. When you're talking to a tour operator, when you're talking to somebody who books safaris, find out what do they do more than the safari. I've actually got a call on this afternoon with a group that does gluten-free travel or gluten-free travel. And being celiac myself, of course, I jumped on this immediately and said, how can we work together? I've had the privilege of taking, actually, it's up to six blind people to Africa, and it's going that extra mile. It's how can we help you to have a better experience, and how can we help you, the travel agent, to grow your business. I'm only as strong as what you are, and the stronger I can build a travel agency network around me, the stronger I will become.
So you mentioned the folks who are gluten free. So that's a niche. And one of the things that I don't understand is you can go on Facebook and based on your interests, you can search so many different types of groups and you can find groups for virtually anything that's out there. And to me, joining that group, contributing with good content is a really important step. And you just nailed it. Like if you're somebody who lives that lifestyle, my sister, my nephew's wife, she was just here with the family over the weekend at our beach house, and she's got a gluten allergy. And so to me, it's like also like ding, because we have to go to places that accommodate her. My son's a vegan, full on vegan, drives me crazy because like we eat like a plant based lifestyle, but we also will do some other stuff. And he's just like, that's it. He doesn't do anything but that. So I'm like, okay, but I gotta work around that. But if you want to take a bunch of vegans somewhere, probably not taking them to Africa and doing, game driving and coming back and having some game afterwards, at the fire pit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's so many niches that you can go after. Um, to me, that's I think that's the biggest takeaway today, other than your great brand and what you've done over the last 20 years, and then adding the DMC just a few months ago. Um, that is such a great tip that I don't know why more don't do that. I think that's something you should absolutely do as a travel agent.
I appreciate that. And Mark, my dad had his leg amputated at the age of 14. So
Oof.
I grew up with a father who only had a leg and a half. And I mean, that guy did more for us as two boys, played cricket with us, he swam with us, he played tennis with us, he kicked us with that leg as well. But it's given me a more passion for people with a dispensation. I mean, I had a guy who was an amputee recent, about six months, that he'd lost his leg, and I could help him a hell of a lot because growing up with a father, and he was so grateful for it. You know, when we get to the game drives, I say, you know what, let me help you take your leg off. You'll enjoy the game drive so much more. He was like, how do you know that? I said, well, I happen to have had a dad who did that, and
Uh,
he really enjoyed his game drive. And then he had ghost limbing one night, and I was able to help him with that because I was a paramedic in the South African military, and you know I bandaged his stump for him, and that helped a lot. And it's just being prepared to go that extra mile. I mean, as far as vegan and gluten free goes, so interesting. The other day I was at one of the lodges, and one of the chefs came and put a whole pile of pancakes on my plate like that. And the client next to me grabbed my plate away and said, "He's not allowed to have that." But that chef was so proud. He said, "I cook for Mr. Mountain, and I cook gluten free."
oh yeah, that's awesome.
And that's important that, you know, you've got people with a peanut allergy. You know, it's not I don't like peanuts. No, peanuts don't like me.
Right.
And so that's important. And it's, again, Mark, is just listening, listening, listening.
Awesome, man. That's great advice, and I think we've discovered a really good way to go out there and find people that are around a certain type of topic, and then to be able to craft something specifically for them. And it sounds to me like you'd be able to do that for these folks, based on your experience and what you've been doing for the last, you know, 20 years, 2 decades, man. I can't believe I met you 2 decades ago. It's insane.
Well, it doesn't. And then I tell people I've been married for 41 years, half of my life. But you know, I mean, I would do this over and over if we believed in reincarnation. But another thing I wanted to mention are our golf safaris,
Yeah, man.
our golf, and as well as pickleball. Believe it or
Pickleball
not,
safaris, how's that work?
taken off all over the world. Everywhere we go, we've got pickleball courts. They call it something different in South Africa, it's paddleball or whatever, but it's the same concept. But it's great fun. You go out and you do your safari, you come back and you play a game or two pickleball, or you go down, and when we do the whale watching down along the garden route, on every stop you do, there's a pickleball court, and before dinner, after dinner, you go and have a game of pickleball. But golf is something really that also sets us apart. Don't forget Gary Player. In fact, my dad was in class with Gary Player.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
we've got Ernie Els. We've got all these amazing golfers. We've got I'd say well definitely some of the best golf courses in the world.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm not a golfer. I played a golfer on television. I actually played a little bit over the years, and then I have the attention span of a grape, so I could get to like the sixth, seventh hole and then forget it. Like forget it. My brain was elsewhere.
I
So
think you beat me by a couple.
yeah, ADHD, man, all along, all along.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of entrepreneurs have, man. That's just the way it is.
Exactly. A little white ball.
Yeah. What? There's a squirrel. John, Evan, I gotta go. I see a squirrel. Hey,
Yeah.
great seeing you online, brother. And I'll let you know when it goes live. All right, my man.
Super, Mark. Wonderful chatting with you. Appreciate it. And I think the industry also just needs to give you a little kudos and thank you for what you do for us. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, man. Help me blow this thing up by getting the word out when I post your stuff, and even in advance. Tell people what we're doing, because it's the only platform that does what we're doing, and that's how I look at this market. I look at when I started my first company in the space, because I ran it for 17 and a half years and sold it in 2019. I looked and said, okay, there's this thing called the internet. Everyone has print weeklies where like no one wants to wait to get the information. And that's how Travel Pulse was born. And then this time I'm like, where's all the video? Like travel's visual. You need long form interviews. You need to get into the meat and potatoes. Webinars are old school. People want to sit in their car and be able to take in information on the train, right? And obviously, if you have footage that we can load up on the platform for you, we'd be happy to do that as well to showcase the experience. If your travelers want to post some of the content, all you have to do is send it to me. We'll get it uploaded and let people know what that experience is like.
Super, Mark. And Again, we appreciate you from the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Have a great one.